hopefully, if I stay on time with what I want to cover today. My seminar for today is called Demystifying the Occult. And what I really want to do here today is bring occult terminology, occult traditions, and occult symbology into practical application for people and help them understand what these sciences really are and how they're being used today in the world all around them. So before we begin, as I often do with many of my lectures, I want to give a few caveats or things that you should kind of look out for. The first thing here today, and I get this a lot with people who are new to my work. Let me just, before I even start this, ask how many people are completely new to my work here today by a show of hands? Okay, just a couple. Okay, so not many who are completely new. How many would you say are relatively new? You haven't looked at a lot of my material, but you've seen maybe a few YouTube videos. Okay, a decent bit. How many people would say that they're very familiar with my work to the point of having watched most of my videos or gone through most of my podcasts, if not all of them, by a show of hands? Great, so we have a lot of veterans with my material here today, so to speak. That's good. Well, there's this old saying in ancient philosophy and in occultism in general. It goes, there is nothing new under the sun. A lot of people don't know what this really means, It means that the truth has always been here, is always going to be here. It always has been here around us, whether we've noticed it or not. And, what I'm presenting here today is nothing new. It's not any revolutionary, groundbreaking material. What it is it's pattern recognition. It's looking at information and presenting it in a tapestry so that it can be readily understood by people, okay, who have not been familiar with this material before. So all I could really do with this material, it's not like I'm inventing anything. I'm just presenting what's already there. All I can really do is present it in a personalized style, my own particular personalized style and aesthetics applied to it. That's all. But for people who are expecting, radically new material here, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to bring what's already going on around us in our world to people's attention so that they can understand it more easily. My presentation style has been described by some people as very intense. I consider that fair. I'm an intense person. The truth is intense, okay? Some people will say that I'm combative. And I don't deny that, too, because, like I said, the truth is combative by its very nature. The truth is at war with deception. The truth is at war with mind control. All right? The truth is at war with the forces of evil at work in our world. By that very nature, it's belligerent. It's a warlike force, truth, if it's wielded properly. If people get angered or upset by some of the comments that I make during the course of the presentation, fine, so be it. Feel those emotions. Let them run through you. But, I would say don't let those emotions, if they are, negative or if they are emotions of anger for some of the things that I say, try not to let that color what you feel about the information that's being presented regarding whether it's true or not, okay? That's called emotional mind control, falling into that trap. And, that's something that people really need to look out for. I don't present the information that I present, or I didn't decide to become a public speaker because this is just information I'm interested in or because I like doing this. Okay? I always have to laugh at people, especially in my personal life, who say, Mark, this is just stuff that you're interested in. Okay? I tell them you have to be out of your mind if you think, telling people about that the world is in a state of slavery and mind control is my personal interests. So I don't do this with my time because I want to be liked, because I want to be popular, because I want to make friends, or because I want to make money. I don't do it for any of those reasons. I don't really particularly want to do this with my time. I do it because I recognize that in a time of universal deceit and deception that we're living in, and universal ignorance that the public is in, that I have a moral obligation to bring this information to public awareness so that humanity can turn the situation around, if there's still time left to do so. That's why I do what I do. Two other things people should try to do to take full value away from this whole seminar, and that's set your perceptions aside of me as the presenter. Very difficult for some people to do. Some people watch a presentation, they focus on the presenter the whole time. The sound of their voice, the way they dress, their mannerisms, their inflections, okay? You want to try to focus on the information as much as possible, not me. I'm not the important thing here, the information is. And two, be consciously aware, as I've already said, of your own impulses to possibly reject information that I'm going to present here today based on initial emotional response or reaction to what I'm saying. It is a logical fallacy to gauge the veracity or truthfulness of any information based upon your emotions, how you feel when you first hear it. So you may be upset, you may be a little scared. You have to put those emotions aside and try to gauge the information rationally. It can be very difficult. It's a difficult process, and I recognize fully what I'm asking people to do by making that statement. Another little caveat, this seminar is a tapestry of information. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. It is meant to be taken in as a whole, connected together, in its entirety. To gain the maximum value from this whole seminar, I highly recommend that you stay for the duration of the whole seminar. Otherwise, you will most likely not recognize the patterns inherent to this tapestry, and more likely than not, you'll have wasted your time and money. And I don't want to see that happen with anyone. I want you to take full value away for taking the time to be here today. The scope of the information that I'm presenting here today is so enormous that it could not possibly be conveyed in a time frame measured in multiple years. Probably it couldn't be conveyed in a time frame measured in multiple lifetimes. Okay? This is a lifelong study. You could not possibly present the entirety of occult information in one seminar. Okay? I couldn't teach that to someone. You couldn't make the claim I have the entirety of that information. Okay? Again, this is a lifelong study. It's a journey over one's lifetime. And I want people to fully recognize that this material is introductory and rudimentary. I'm not here to speak to lifelong occultists who are going super deep into occult information. I'm here to whet the appetite of beginners, to try to kind of spark them on their own personal journey of discovery regarding this information. And please recognize I'm also putting this information out there online to people. It's not just for those in the room. It's for people who may be 100% completely new to it who are watching the seminar online. So that's really all the caveats I want to talk about before we get started. Now, my last presentation was called Streetwise Spirituality. What does it truly mean to be awake? I gave this back in May in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's about a 7-8 hour presentation, something like that. And in it, I presented a framework of 20 factors of what it means to really be awake. And they're all listed here. These were the main points of this seminar. I'm not going to read every one of them, but I just want to really say that what this presentation here today is it's kind of unpacking the number one factor that I presented in that seminar, Streetwise Spirituality. I said that the number one factor for what it really means to be awake, not this New Age hokum, New Age perception of what awakening means, but a very practical, feet on the ground, streetwise approach to spirituality. In that framework, what does it mean to be awake? My number one factor in my list of factors for what real awakening means was knowing about the occult and understanding that there are both light and dark aspects to it. when I really thought about all the factors that constituted awakening, and I structured that into a presentation, this was my very, very, very first factor, okay, after I looked at all 20. Because I realized that the thing that people who I consider unconscious or asleep do share in common, almost universally, is that those individuals know nothing about the occult at all. Zero. Zero. You know, the people that I consider not awake, the people that I consider still being manipulated, still operating at a largely unconscious level, all of them share that same factor in common. They don't know about the occult at all. Whether they be people who think it's just a political problem that can be solved by voting or just electing the right person into office, whether it's people who think it's just a financial problem and we just have to reel in the big banks and the Federal Reserve, you know, whether, you name the factor that they blame externally on the conditions that are present for humanity. They leave consciousness at the door. They don't talk about that as an issue. And again, universally, they have no knowledge of the occult. So that's kind of who I really am directing this presentation toward here today, is the people who don't have a frame of reference based in knowledge about what the occult is and the knowledge that it contains, which is what we're going to be talking about here today. So my first section is called, What is the Occult? I'll actually be presenting this information in three basic, is it three? It's four basic components. It's four basic sections to this seminar. The first is, what is the occult? It's a general overview of occultism and what it is, the knowledge that it contains. The second section of the presentation will be occult traditions, and I'll be breaking down in a very rudimentary way, because time doesn't allow to go into any depth, several different occult traditions. The third section of the presentation, I'll be breaking down many different occult symbols, some of the more prevalent symbols involved in occult symbology. And then in the last section, more likely than not at the end of the dinner break that we'll be taking, I'll be doing a case study in occult symbolism by presenting some of the very deep, spiritually significant symbolism in the major arcana of the tarot deck. And that'll be the last part of the presentation. So the first section, again, is what is the occult and why should you know about it? Why is it so important to know what the occult really is? People have different ideas of what is meant by the word occult. You say this to some people and they immediately think of an image like this, a conjuration of a demon, okay? And I'm not going to tell you that there aren't specific occult practices that may, involve something like this, or people believe, that this can be done or attempt to do it or possibly even do it. But, this is like more of a Hollywood variant, a Hollywood conception of what people think of as going on in the occult. You think of, those rebellious teenagers out in the woods with the black robes, with a bonfire lit, sacrificing some animals, okay? This is a very limited perception of what the occult is, and it's often a wildly off perception of what it is and what it contains. The occult is so much more than that, and it's so much more significant than practices like this, which I would consider mystical practices. And I'm going to talk about mystical practices versus actual occultism, the study of the occult information. All right? So the first thing, before we get into a working definition or a practical definition of occult information or occultism, let's look at the word occult itself. For people who are familiar with my work, this is nothing new. The word occult is derived from the Latin adjective occultus. Occultus in Latin means hidden from sight, not easily seen. The word occultus in Latin, the adjective in Latin, comes from the Latin verb occultare. Occultare means to hide, to conceal, or to keep secret. And both of those words in Latin are in turn derived from the Latin noun oculus. Oculus means eye. So ultimately, occult information is that which is related to vision, to what one is capable of seeing or not capable of seeing. It is hidden information. It is information that is veiled. It is information that is not readily seen by most people. Okay, like an iceberg floating in icy waters.